Hey everybody, welcome to day one. And today's soup is turkey quinoa.
Turkey quinoa soup, which is going to be fantastic. We've got all the stuff here set for you. We are going to be talking a little bit about today's movie. We'll show about that in a second. And at the end of this video, you'll be seeing or hearing our phrase to post. So that'll help you. Phrase that pays, which will put you in a drawing at the end for this lovely Fix-It cookbook at the end. So we'll hang on here for a second. We're going to get rolling.
Hot.
Okay, pot is hot.
So guys, you know, I don't use recipes. I tell them all the time, I don't use recipes. I make soup almost every single week, and it's usually I'm making stuff up as I go along. So when Dan goes, hey, let's share all our recipes for soup, I'm doing my best. So I'm trying to kind of break down what I do, but remember, you're going to want to change the flavors for yourself. But at any rate, what I'm starting with, I already talked about this if people are fans of my show. I always have sauteed onions in the fridge. So this morning I sauteed 4 onions. So it's about a 1/4 of that. So maybe 1 sauteed onion in the pot. And then we're going to put 1 cup of carrots and 1 cup of celery that I already peeled and chopped, and those are going to go in the pot, and we're going to cook those for about 7 minutes till they get soft.
What's in the pot?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, gotcha.
Onions, carrots, and celery. So what you want is for these to get soft. If I was going to make this in the crock pot, which I often do, I would just throw all those in without cooking them, so they would just cook in the pot. So 7 minutes, we're going to let those guys soften up, and remember, just make it taste the way you want. Right.
Yeah, and part of this I think is the big issue for her is, this is kind of like, I relate this to my music world. We're asking a little bit of a jazz player to kind of write down her chords, right? So that's what we're doing. So she kind of takes the principles and makes it her own, which I think is really the kind of way that my wife cooks. But what we're going to do here is help it break it down a little bit more so it's not so freeform, so you'll have a better sense of what to actually make these things happen. And then ultimately make it your own, and then you become your own jazz cooker.
Oh yes, that should be the name of our show.
We're so jazzy.
Jazz cooker, even though I don't like jazz.
She does it.
I do not
anyway,
like it.
So looking forward, and this soup is going to be fantastic. We'll talk a little bit more about the benefits in just a second. All right, so what we're talking today about, so we've got the turkey soup. Now, one of my favorite holiday movies is Christmas Story, and of course, you know, Ralphie's dad in Christmas Story is a big fan of turkey, which is
he's a turkicanus.
Turkicanus, which is pretty much he gets in trouble for those darn puppuses and their dogs. So that's really one of my favorite parts about that movie. But I think love the chance when we're together with our family, when we do the holidays together. We pretty much have holiday movies on in the background all the time. And the cool thing is now, like between Netflix and our Comcast thing, we have such a choice, and of course videos too. We have that choice to do that and kind of have those in the background. So while we're cooking, while we're doing those kind of things, and meal preps tend to be on Sundays, so that tends to happen a lot. And
we just had this movie on.
Yeah, we just had this movie on, which is good stuff.
Even thinking about it.
So we've got the pot going, we've got the food happening, and in just a few seconds here, we'll move on to our next step.
Okay, the vegetables are starting to get soft, so I'm going to put about 3 cloves of garlic in. You guys know I like to use my jar of garlic, so just a couple spoonfuls of that. Never put your garlic in while you're sauteing your vegetables, or you're going to burn it. If you haven't learned that the hard way, like I have a couple of times, that's my tip for you today. So we're just going to toss that in.
Garlic cooks pretty quick.
Yeah, it cooks quick. Adds a lot of good flavor in there. Again, this is all to your preference, so if you don't like garlic, don't put it in. And vegetable soup is super, a personal preference, so just put in whatever vegetables you like. If you like broccoli or green beans or corn or whatever, we're just going with the basic, I forget what they call that, mirepoix. I am not a chef, but I do watch Food Network.
En français.
So, isn't that what they call it?
I don't know.
I could be totally wrong. But onions, celery, and carrots.
Yep.
And then adding the garlic in on top of that. So those guys are getting soft, so I'm just going to go ahead and put in my turkey broth. This is bone broth that we made from our turkey carcass from Thanksgiving. So anyway, we're just going to spice it up here a little bit. I had just a teensy bit of my fresh herbs left outside. I sound like Martha Stewart, but believe me, I'm
You
not.
you would say herbs if you were.
Herbs. But I'm going to add a little thyme. This is a couple teaspoons of fresh thyme.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not fresh. This is sage, a couple teaspoons of sage. I remember the very first time I made soup, and it was for our friend Stacy, and it was homemade, and it was a long time ago. I'm adding salt and pepper, pink Himalayan. He was like, "Oh my gosh, this isn't bland." It wasn't bland.
Yep.
So I think it has to do with your broth a lot of times. And here is a cheater's way to make your soup taste good. If it's just super bland and everything that you've added to it, you know, with your spice, you put in garlic salt or whatever, and it is just super bland, add a couple of bouillon cubes. And that will really punch up the meat flavor. We use a product called Better Than Bouillon, and I always have that in the fridge. It's like a liquefied version of bouillon. So if I taste this, and I will, and I think that it's too bland, I'll probably put a couple teaspoons of Better Than Bouillon in just to make it, like, punch up that meat flavor.
Yep.
Okay, so we just tasted it. It's a teensy bit bland. So I'm gonna add, like I said, I'm a cheater, a couple of teaspoons of this product, Better Than Bouillon. This is 8 cups, so that's a lot of liquid. That's a lot of soup. So you'd probably throw it in a couple of bouillon cubes. Hopefully you have those in your home. Like I said, it does increase the salt, so if salt is really a problem for you, don't put this in and try to spice it up in another way. So we're gonna put that in, and now I'm just gonna add a cup of quinoa. Remember, I've told you before, do not buy the kind you need to rinse. It's bad, don't do it.
So quinoa in place of noodles.
Right.
What? Can that happen? Yes.
Yeah.
And why do we do that? Because we're really trying to replace some of those white carbs. So really, as a rule, we're trying to avoid the white carbs. White rice, white noodles, white potatoes. Those are things we're trying to avoid because they're going to spike your glycemic level pretty quickly. And when we're trying to keep our glycemic level a little bit more steady, something like quinoa, which is a very complex carbohydrate, and it has some protein as well, and it's a natural protein. It's really great stuff.
Yep. So the last thing, and of course the quinoa takes a really long time to cook. I'm going to go ahead and put 2 cups of leftover chopped turkey. This is white meat and dark meat. I'm just going to throw that in there.
Yep.
And we're going to let this simmer. The longer soup sits, you guys know, the better it is. I almost always do all my soup in the crock pot and then let it cook all day. I like the way it makes the house feel. I like it to be ready when this person needs to eat or that person needs to eat when you're on the go. So we're just going to turn the heat down on this and let it simmer and let the flavors combine. And the last thing you're waiting for is the quinoa to pop. So if it looks like little teeny tiny stones, it's not ready. When it pops, it turns into like a little bit of a C, like it turns inside out, and you'll see that it's soft. And then you're ready to eat it. But
and then there's a final, isn't there a final little bit?
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
I always throw a bay leaf in, and let's not forget that you have to take the bay leaf out.
Very important.
Don't eat
eat
it.
bay leaves.
So if you're gonna forget, if you're like the absent-minded chef, I don't know anybody who's like that. Don't put it in there. But it does add some nice depth of flavor.
Yep. So
we're gonna put the lid on this and let it cook, and the next time you see us, we'll be tasting it.
Yeah, and the good thing is, guys, when we're doing these recipes, I think you're going to hopefully find a decently complexity of flavors. So, and I think one of the things that really hits our palates is when you can hit the palate in a lot of different areas. So salty, some sweet, some savory, those kind of things, those combinations really help develop a much more sophisticated dishes, and that's what we really try to do here, which is what I love what my wife does with cooking. But she makes it easy. Okay, so today, I know we didn't talk a whole lot about Christmas Story, but it's kind of fun. Hopefully you'll maybe get a chance to watch this during the holiday season, and once, twice, 3 times, especially on Christmas Day when it plays on repeat. But today's phrase that pays, so we're going to be potentially winning that copy of the Fix8 cookbook. Today's phrase that pays, which of course we all know from this, is "you'll shoot your eye out." So comment below. You'll shoot your eye out as the phrase that pays for today. For this is day 1, and we're looking forward to day 2. If you do have some friends who want to maybe hop on, go ahead and invite them to this thing. And if you think they might benefit, they go, these people, I think they might think that they're goofy and she's good looking and I don't know what I am. But anyway, that would be great. So hopefully that's helpful to you guys, and looking forward to the next few days we have together. Thanks. Let's go.